On October 14, 2025, the United States Supreme Court delivered a unanimous decision on firearm confiscation, sending shockwaves through the nation. The case addressed whether the government can temporarily seize firearms from individuals deemed a danger, even before a crime is committed or mental illness is formally adjudicated. This ruling, the result of years of legal battles, clarifies the constitutionality of red flag laws and sets a new standard for balancing public safety with Second Amendment rights. The 9-0 consensus is striking, signaling rare unity on a deeply divisive issue. As we break down this historic decision, we'll explore how all 9 justices found common ground and what it means for the future of gun control in America. Red flag laws, or extreme risk protection orders, allow courts to temporarily remove firearms from those deemed a threat, often at the request of family or law enforcement. The Supreme Court case began when a man's guns were seized after a family member reported threatening behavior, sparking a lawsuit over alleged violations of his Second and 14th Amendment rights. Conflicting lower court rulings on due process and gun rights created a patchwork of laws nationwide, prompting the Supreme Court to intervene. The central question: how much due process is required before the government can take away someone's firearms for public safety? This legal showdown was fueled by passionate arguments, supporters citing lives saved, opponents warning of abuse and erosion of constitutional rights. Supporters of red flag laws argue that these measures are crucial for preventing tragedies, such as mass shootings or suicides, by allowing authorities to intervene swiftly when someone is believed to pose a real threat to themselves or others. They emphasize that these laws can save lives by acting before violence occurs, rather than after the fact. Under these laws, judges are tasked with carefully reviewing evidence and scheduling prompt hearings to determine whether a temporary removal of firearms is justified. This process is designed to be both efficient and thorough, ensuring that urgent situations are addressed without unnecessary delay. Proponents argue that the system strikes a balance between the need for urgent action and the protection of due process rights, as gun owners are given a timely opportunity to contest the order in court and present their side of the story. On the other hand, opponents argue that red flag laws undermine the fundamental presumption of innocence, allowing authorities to seize property based on accusations or suspicions rather than concrete proof of wrongdoing. They warn that this could set a dangerous precedent, a slippery slope where constitutional rights are suspended before a fair hearing, and where the burden unfairly shifts to citizens to prove their innocence rather than the state proving guilt. Critics also raise concerns that judges, fearing public backlash or blame for future acts of violence, might err on the side of caution and grant too many orders, potentially infringing on individual rights without sufficient justification. This ongoing debate highlights the deep and passionate divide in society over how best to protect both public safety and the constitutional rights of individuals, with strong arguments on both sides. Ultimately, the Supreme Court was tasked with the difficult responsibility of finding a constitutional balance between these competing interests, a decision that could have far-reaching implications for the nation. In a rare and unexpected show of agreement, the Supreme Court delivered a unanimous decision that could shape the future of gun laws in America. The justices affirmed that temporary firearm confiscation laws, often called red flag laws, can be constitutional, but only if they include strong due process protections to safeguard individual rights. The court made it clear: states may act swiftly in emergencies to prevent harm, but they must also provide a prompt and fair hearing. This ensures that gun owners have a real opportunity to challenge the seizure of their firearms, protecting against potential government overreach. The justices emphasized that while the Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms, it is not without limits. Any restriction on this right must be balanced by swift judicial review so that constitutional freedoms are not eroded in the name of public safety. This carefully crafted framework managed to satisfy both liberal and conservative justices. It allows for necessary safety measures, but only if they are paired with robust procedural safeguards that protect individual liberties. The ruling sends a clear message to states: you can enact red flag laws to address urgent threats, but you must do so with fairness and respect for constitutional rights at every step. It's not a sweeping victory for either side of the gun debate. but it does establish a clear set of constitutional guardrails for lawmakers and courts to follow. In a time of deep division, this rare consensus from the Supreme Court offers a path forward. It gives states a way to address gun violence while still respecting the fundamental rights of individuals, showing that compromise is possible even on the nation's most contentious issues. States are now racing to review and revise their red flag laws to meet the Supreme Court's new standards for due process and prompt hearings. Laws with quick hearings are likely safe, but those with delays or weak evidence requirements face legal challenges and possible overhaul. The decision gives states a green light to enact or expand red flag laws, provided they follow the court's blueprint. Mental health concerns are now more clearly recognized as valid grounds for temporary firearm removal, as long as the process is fair. Expect new legislative activity and lawsuits, as both sides test the boundaries of the ruling. The fight now shifts from whether these laws are constitutional to how they're implemented. The debate continues in state houses and courtrooms across the country. Public reaction to the Supreme Court's decision is sharply divided. Gun safety advocates celebrate it as a victory for public health and a green light for more states to act. Gun rights supporters warn it erodes Second Amendment protections and mobilize to challenge new laws and demand strict due process. Politicians on both sides are spinning the ruling. Democrats push for more red flag laws, while Republicans focus on protecting gun owners' rights. The ruling has even sparked debate over qualified immunity, with some on the left now seeing its value in enforcing these laws, and some on the right questioning it. The political landscape is shifting, with new alliances and unexpected debates emerging. In the wake of the recent Supreme Court ruling, gun control groups are intensifying their efforts to expand the list of people who can petition for red flag orders. Now, they're advocating for teachers, school administrators, and medical professionals to have the authority to request these interventions, arguing that those on the front lines are best positioned to spot warning signs and prevent tragedies before they occur. This proposed expansion is sparking heated debates across the country, as communities grapple with the question of who should be trusted with such significant authority over individual rights and public safety. Meanwhile, the issue of qualified immunity is forging unexpected and sometimes uneasy alliances, with some gun rights advocates and civil liberties groups now joining forces to push for reforms to police protections, seeking greater accountability and transparency in law enforcement actions. The real battle, however, is shifting to state legislatures, where lawmakers will determine the specifics of how these new rules are implemented. Here, the standards for evidence, the process for hearings, and the rights of those affected will be fiercely debated and contested, with passionate arguments on all sides. While the Supreme Court has set broad guidelines, the fight over how these rules are put into practice is only just beginning, and the outcome remains uncertain. The national debate has shifted from abstract constitutional rights to the practical realities of implementation, making local engagement, advocacy, and public input more important than ever before. Ultimately, this landmark decision marks a pivotal turning point, one that will shape the future of American gun laws, public safety, and civil liberties for many years to come.